Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Emporia, Kansas. I'll tell you what, if you thought the Lifetime Unbound Gravel presented by Shimano was already the most ambitious race in the world, wait till you see what we've got in store for you today. I'm Bill Elliston, and this is the Unbound XL Start, 356 miles across the Flint Hills of Kansas. We're getting a great shot of downtown Emporia as all of our riders are getting ready to gather by the start. We're just a few minutes out from sending them on their way. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bill Ellison, joined by Kimo Seymour and Lauren Hall in the studio, and we are excited to bring you a little bit of coverage of today's XL Start.
You guys, I cannot believe that they're about to race 356 miles, over 250 people registered right there. And to see everyone lined up, you know, the beauty of cycling in all different disciplines and distances is a beautiful thing.
You know, it really is, Lauren. And, I think what makes this XL so truly unique is not only the fact that it's 356 miles, it's not just a lot longer, but it's probably as much a mental challenge as it is a physical challenge. I mean, to stay up through the night, fully supported, sleep deprivation, navigating all on your own, dealing with weather, what could come and go through the middle of the night. We're forecasting a little bit of rain. We've had some dry, warmer conditions today that have probably dried up a little bit of that mud, but we could see some rain tonight, create mud for them, so could change the dynamic of the course. They go through some healthy section of minimum maintenance roads way out west of Emporia here, so it's going to be an exciting race, and this has turned into one of the marquee events here at Unbound Gravel.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's truly an event where it just pits man or woman versus nature, 100% out there on the course. Well, our XL field is pretty stacked today, and we've got a lot of top athletes out here ready to do battle. Of course, we've got our defending champion on the men's side, Rob Britton, is back. Rob getting finished last year in just under about 18 hours out there on the course. Phenomenal time, amazing 20-mile-an-hour average pace. We've also got 2021 champion Taylor Ledeen is back to try and regain the top spot. One of our two-time winners of the 200 is back, Ted King, back to try his hand once again at the XL. And Pete Stetna. Pete was the 2024 Traka 360 champion, and this is actually Pete's farewell tour here. He's going to retire from professional racing at the end of the year, so decided he wanted to give it a shot here at the XL. On the women's side, we've got Heather Jackson. She's back as well, our defending champion, and it's worth noting that just a couple of weeks ago, she finished fourth at the Cocodona 250-mile run, and
Unbelievable.
I don't know that she's had time to recover from that. Her feet must have been in an ice bath for a couple of weeks after that one. We've also got the reigning British National Gravel champion, Maddie Nutt, is here to challenge, and she's actually the reigning Traka 560 champion from this year, and that was just earlier in May as well. So those are going to be some of our heavy favorites, but we've got a lot of other athletes out here to tackle the course.
It's so great to talk about some of those premier athletes, and we know that they're going to be at the front of this race, but also just the everyday person that has signed up for this and wanting to tackle this course. It blows my mind. And again, just the beauty of this discipline. They're just going to be out there all night racing into the night tonight. Kimo, I just can't believe it.
Yeah, Lauren, and what's even more amazing is they seem to keep getting faster and faster each year. Last year, Rob Britton and Lachlan Morton averaged over 20 miles an hour, and to put that in perspective, they're going 350 miles. They are fully self-supported. They're stopping at gas stations, convenience stores along the way. That's all they can do for food and drink and whatever they need for sustenance out there. They're not allowed to have any outside support. So the fact that they're able to do that, make it through the night, get in just under, what would you say, just under 18 hours last year is pretty amazing. It's just to see the performance of some of these athletes, and they just keep elevating it year after year.
Yeah, it's amazing. Every athlete from the front of the field to the back of the field, so important to manage yourself, as it's 350 miles, so certainly not a sprint. You've got to think about every single aspect to stay on top of your game out there on this course. Getting a look at our start line here, and our riders are officially underway here, so 3 o'clock sharp. Our XL riders getting the whistle, getting the cheers from a wonderful crowd we've got here in Emporia, and they are officially underway for 356 miles of rugged Flint Hills gravel.
One of the things that we had heard earlier, going back to Chemo's point of these athletes stopping at aid stations, that some or in gas stations, that some of these gas stations in town are actually staying open later for these athletes, which is just such a testament to the hospitality that Emporia rolls out for us here.
Yeah, the logistics of what it takes for these riders to make it through this 350 miles is there. You can see Heather Jackson right up there on the front line.
Of course.
Obviously a fan favorite. Ted King right there in the front row as well. Rob Britton. So great to see some familiar faces on the front. But as you mentioned, 256 riders were registered for this year. I think for the most part, most of them don't know what they're about to get themselves into logistically. You know, finding their way to those aid stations in the middle of the night, which are really just, as I mentioned, convenience stores. One of the differences with this event too, you know, tomorrow we've got a long start that is a neutral start. It goes almost 3.5 miles neutral. This one we're going to turn them loose here in just about another mile. And what's amazing is for a 350-mile race, you're going to see some people take off right from the gun. And it's funny, we always get someone that thinks they can win from mile 1 in the 350, but usually doesn't turn out that way.
Well, talking a little bit about our course out here today for the XL. Heading out of Emporia, they're going to head south all the way down toward the Eureka area. That's going to be the southernmost point of the course, kind of where Route 54 cuts across. From there, they're going to point their way northwest up through Cassaday. From there, it'll be straight west over to the Florence area, where they'll do a little bit of a loop, head back northeast again. That'll take them up and above the Council Grove area, where they'll head just a little bit east of there. Then they're going to make their way southwest over towards the Cahola Lake area. Everybody knows Cahola Lake. It's always a feature on many editions of our 200, as it will be tomorrow. From there, it more or less ties into the 206-mile course we're going to be looking at tomorrow. And in that, they'll be heading east through Americus and then south back into Emporia. So, again, they're looking at a total of 356 miles.
Do the 200-mile course and then tack on another 144 miles. No big deal.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing. We were talking before we came on air that I'm not even sure I remember the last time I did a 350-mile week of riding my bike, let alone in 20 hours or so, as Rob Britton and those athletes did last year. So yeah, these riders are off on an adventure, and you know, to our point, right? Everything's got to be so managed out here in terms of your effort, your nutrition, and all that. And we've really got no neutral to speak of, and we're watching them roll out. Nobody's in a real big hurry right now. Nobody's dropping it down into their biggest gear and sprinting out of town. They're getting a nice leisurely start here as they point their way out.
And also think about equipment, you know, having your light system dialed on your helmet, on your handlebars. And, you know, when you're riding gravel during the day, it's hard enough. Like we were talking about the course, and some of these sections are pretty dicey with the weather that we've just had. And then you put darkness in there, and you have this space of, 20 feet in front of you, and that's all you can see. It just totally changes race dynamics.
Yeah, one of the big challenges with this distance also is certainly kind of nutrition and pace management and you know, riding logically, and you know, experience. I think you know, favors you know, the riders with more experience are certainly have an advantage. And you know, a lot of these riders, this is the first time they will have ever ridden this far. You know, talking to a few of them earlier today, they're you know, there's a lot of anxiety about this, because they, you know, a lot of them don't know what they're getting themselves into, and being able to manage that pace and nutrition through the night is kind of critical, even just to be able to finish this, let alone for kind of the pointy end of the spear that we talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, and it's, you know, we talk about so much about how this is a very self-supported kind of situation. I think we have a handful of aid stations or stops rather out there on the course for these riders through the night.
Yeah, the first stop they're going to get to is in a town called Madison, and that's going to be a checkpoint for the 100 and the 200 mile events tomorrow as well. But Madison's about 57 miles in. That'll be the first KC store they can stop out and get nutrition. You see them taking a left here, and this is the first gravel, and they are officially free to run. So you see the pace pick up already, and they're starting to race already here. So second checkpoint will be in Eureka, 109 miles. Eureka is a town that we have visited in the past with the 200 and the XL and the 100 actually, pretty far south of Emporia. At mile 161, they're going to roll through Matfield Green, which is also a checkpoint tomorrow in on the 200 course. And then the 206 miles at Florence will be the fourth opportunity for these riders to have a stop and pick up some outside aid there. And then Council Grove, mile 273. That'll be the last checkpoint for them, and the last opportunity for them to fuel up and restock before they do that last 70-mile push back into Emporia tomorrow afternoon.
Looking at these shots right here really reminds me, if you've ever signed up for a marathon and everybody starts together and you're starting to look at your watch and like, oh, I can hold a 9-minute pace for the rest of this.
Right.
You know, and then you get a couple of minutes in, and you're like, wait a minute, I've been training, it's a 10-minute pace, let me back off. Or are you going to stick with some of these people at the front and really try to push the pace as long as you can? Like, all the different strategies and mental thoughts that you have to deal with on such a beautiful start. It's there's a lot to shake out in these 356 plus miles.
It already looks like Rob Britton and Ted King in those first two spots as they're rolling out of town. And we talked about both Rob and Heather set fastest average speeds last year. It's hard to say course records because the course changes a little bit year to year in terms of the actual distance. But in terms of average speed, they both set new records last year. And you have to wonder if Rob is thinking, I wonder, if he kind of played through last year and he's like, you know what, I think I can save some energy here, there, and some other places, and I might actually be able to go a little faster. So you wonder if Rob's already thinking about that, getting into the groove out here.
Having that experience has got to be extremely helpful for him. One, knowing what that takes mentally, and then, like you said, Bill, of what changes can I make already to make myself better, more efficient, and faster for 2026? I
also noticed there on the start, as a little bit earlier on the start line right next to Ted King, was 2021 winner Taylor Ledeen. So he's always a good contender for this event. He's had some ups and downs. He's won it, and he's DNF'd it, and he's kind of been everywhere in between. But he is a really amazing kind of long-distance endurance athlete. He's been a part of the Lifetime Grand Prix in years past, but this year chosen to focus on a few different priorities. But he's always a really good, strong contender. Also noticed at the start line, Emma Grant, past Lifetime Grand Prix athlete, has moved up to the XL distance as well.
It's always interesting to me when we see some of the Grand Prix athletes move up to the 350. It's like, is that 206 miles not enough of a challenge? Like, are you really that driven? And I love it. I love to see it, right? That's what makes them such wonderful athletes, is they're always looking for that next challenge. But I can't even imagine getting done with the 206 and being like, okay, I checked that one off the bucket list. What's next? I'm gonna do the XL. I mean, last year we saw Lachlan Morton, who a prior winner here of the Lifetime Grand Prix 200-mile version, and he got second last year. And I remember chatting with him after we did some awards last year, and talk about a 10,000-yard stare.
Really?
Coming.
Yeah.
Oh, he was so just blown to shreds. And Lachlan's a rider that, he can just push himself to these unbelievably dark places.
Well,
and he's not back here this year. He's doing the 200, right?
Well, and to Kimo's point of having Emma Grant here, Emma came from road racing. She was a crit racer, stage racer, raced over in Europe for a while, has now turned to the gravel scene, and the evolution of a cyclist. Pete Stetna, Ted King, those guys, they all came from a road background too. So, this is the kind of the conversation of the weekend, the evolution of gravel, the evolution of Unbound, and where are we going, where we've been, where we're going. And, having this many riders in this category is just a testament to they're just so curious, race curious. If you give me something longer, faster, harder, I'm probably going to sign up for it.
One of the other things you'll notice, most of these riders on the front, and that some of you may know, a couple years ago with the elite fields in the 200, we actually put in a rule banning aero bars just for safety purposes. But you'll notice that most of these elite riders, they're going to spend a lot of time out there. They know they're going to spend a lot of time alone. So elite, amateur, it doesn't matter what your class you're riding, and the XL aero bars are obviously allowed. and they're certainly, you know, that's certainly a feature that'll help them go faster, gives them a little another more comfortable kind of position on the bike, and you know, there's a lot of fatigue over 350 miles that they have to figure out how to manage. So you can see a number of them even further back in the pack already down resting in those aero bars.
Yeah, it's such a race. You know, again, it's almost like the race against the other competitors is kind of a secondary component, right? It's really more of a race against yourself and how deep can you go, how far can you push yourself, and so again, a lot of these riders, probably within, you know, 3, 4, 5 hours, it's going to be really spread out. A lot of riders aren't going to have the company of other riders, so you're just going to be out there with your own thoughts and, you know, and on those aero bars again, trying to stay as comfortable as you can. And you know, Lauren and I drove some of the courses yesterday, and you know, there was a little bit of rain the past couple days. There was some muddy sections out there, but really, the rain that was predicted for today, at least in this immediate area, never really materialized. It's been kind of sunny, it's been warm, it's been breezy, and you can see by that dust coming up here, things look like they've really dried out. So I think we might be seeing faster times all around this year.
What a blessing. You know, I think everybody would prefer a little less dust. But what we also saw are some of those creek crossings were like a bit technical too. I would love to see how much one of those race rigs weighs. You know, it's a different riding style,
Sure.
like Kimo's talking about. You guys are talking about the aero position, and you can also see on their bikes and on their backs, they've got packs. You can see lights on their helmets. Just a ton of packs on their bikes, so it's a different dynamic of racing.
Yeah, and the conditions out there right now, we thought we were going to have a little bit more rain today, and we had some cloud cover. It kind of, you know, it lifted a little bit, and the sun came through. You can see the sun's coming down on them. It's in the 80s out there, really humid after the rain the last couple days. The other thing right now, they're heading north. It's interesting that we sent them a little bit north to start, and then they'll eventually turn south and head down to Madison. But right now, they've got a full-on tailwind, anywhere from 15 to 20 miles an hour, blowing them as they go north. So they're starting out with a tailwind. They're heading west now, and they're going to turn back south. They're going to right into that headwind all the way down to Madison. So for the first 50 to 60 miles, they are primarily going to be into a pretty stiff headwind that looks like it's going to continue into the evening. And then tomorrow morning, as they round and work their way around towards the west end of the course, over towards Matfield Green, they'll get a bit of a tailwind coming back north.
Kimo, you're bringing such a good point. The wind. We've talked about the rain and the gravel, but the wind out there, you're so exposed on those rolling hills of Emporia. It's gonna be a factor, and to be with a friend is a beautiful thing when there's a headwind.
Yeah, I think at some point you have to kind of make a smart decision of if there's some riders around you and maybe their pace is a little easier than yours or even a little hotter than yours. You might have to make kind of an educated decision whether if you want to stay with somebody, maybe burn a match a little early to stay on a wheel to get that little bit of recovery, because it's gonna pay off in spades. Especially, I mean, look, it's now almost 3:15 in the afternoon. They're heading into darkness, right? It's going to be a few hours, but by the time they get settled into a rhythm, that sun's going to start to set on them, and they're going to be riding into darkness. And you know, we've heard so many stories of you get out there, everyone's got their lights, and you see the lights from a distance, but what a lonely endeavor, right? And what a mind game! What a mind game that is at night. So I think. I personally, I would love to have a little bit of company out there. I don't know if I could handle riding out there solo. So I think a lot of people are going to have to really think about that. Maybe burning a couple matches early to stay with people as we settle into that darkness and kind of keep your head in the game.
You were talking about Heather Jackson and what she's just finished, the Cocodona. It's a running race, 250-mile running race from Flagstaff to, is it from?
Phoenix to Flagstaff.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. And they were talking towards the end of the race. She basically was just floating off into the distance
and
hallucinating,
right?
and she was off course, and they had to bring her back on course. And you saw her finishing, and she was like in a puffy, and so talking about what your brain does.
Right. It's just your body can do your body can do amazing things, right? Your mind can override a lot of physical things in your body.
You can see from these early shots how dry it is out there. So I mentioned we had some rain the last couple days, managed to tamp down the dust, but it's been sunny and dry today, and that quickly it's dried up. They're going to get to about mile 20 on what's the infamous what we call D road, and that's in the 100 and the 200 tomorrow as well. And for those of you that have been around Unbound for a while, you might recall what we call the 2023 Mud Marathon. That was that was D road into 120 and then into Y road. They're going to hit that this year. And yesterday morning, it was about like what it was in 2023.
Ooh.
And so it's but we've gotten reports from out there today. People have been out, and I think it's pretty well dried out, so they should be okay. That was a real game changer and kind of changed the full dynamic of the event in 2023, and really honestly kind of made it about as epic and memorable as they get, right? Everybody talks
Everyone
about
talks about it.
2015 and 2023 being the two big mud years. 2015 probably being the best of them all. 23 was certainly a really good mud year with that section, that D road section. And there's been a lot of questions this week. Are we going to take that out if it's too muddy? If it's too, and I said, heck no, we're keeping it in. That's what makes it memorable.
I'm glad you said that. It makes you the bad guy if it gets muddy, man. I don't want to be in the spotlight on that one. It's crazy. Yeah, I remember there was a lot of running and walking overnight for pretty long clips of time. And I remember Ted King actually DNF'd that year. It got a little extreme, but yeah, that was definitely a tough one. But looks like we're not going to be seeing that this year. So far as our riders are now coming up on about 17 minutes into this year's Unbound XL. Conditions are dry, the sun is high in the air, light breeze as they start to make their way into the darkness. Well, that's going to just about do it for our opening coverage here for the 2026 edition of the Lifetime Unbound Gravel XL presented by Shimano. Don't forget, we're going to be back live in the studio here 5:35 tomorrow morning, bringing you every single pedal stroke of round number 2 of the Lifetime Grand Prix. We'll also be checking in with some XL updates, and we'll have updates from some of our other events that start tomorrow as well. So until then, enjoy. You can keep up to speed on the XL by tracking some of the riders online, and we will check in with you tomorrow morning.